Hey there, fellow Patriots. Welcome back to another episode of Patriots of the American Republic. So let's get into the discussion that's been happening around just about everywhere, right? Listen, it's really simple. For people who are actually intellectually inclined versus those who are emotionally based, it's pretty easy to see the hypocrisy and double standards from the left. When people do analysis, you compare one result to an exact or a similar other reference to come up with a similar result, right? In order to determine whatever you're trying to compare. So for a simple example, let's compare Burger King's Whopper to McDonald's Big Mac. You got two burgers that are being compared for which is the better taste. Now, taste buds are subjective to a person's personal taste buds, right? That's something that will vary from person to person. But what's a little bit more tangible to measure, right? Easy one would be who sells more burgers, right? We wouldn't want to compare like burger and pizzas because it's not really apples to apples. But comparing burgers to burgers is pretty good, right? You can get a good analysis on who sells the most burgers when you look at the numbers, right? McDonald's might sell X amount, Whoppers will sell X amount, and you can gauge at the very least not which one's the better Whopper, but which one's the higher selling burger, right? So given this really simple example, we have mountains of evidence to show the same situation or a similar situation has a different outcome when it comes to Trump versus anyone else on the left. In this segment, we will look into the newest sky is falling cry from the left in order to create and drive Trump's failure regardless of the millions of people who get impacted. So in essence, they're going to cry no matter what Trump does, regardless of who it benefits, just to make sure that they stick it to Trump. And again, we're collateral damage to them, right? During the presidential debate, one of the moderators talked about tariffs Trump had been talking about on his campaign trail. The left demonized his idea, all while supporting or ignoring the fact that Biden kept all of Trump's tariffs when he took office. Let's just take a quick trip down memory lane.
President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America.
In a very lengthy response, Harris didn't actually answer the question, but as typical, she went on to do shift blaming, right? But she is right. She is right, and she acknowledges the fact that America has a huge trade deficit, which we'll tackle a little bit later on in this video. But for now, I want to focus on the fact that the moderator asked about Trump's tariffs and how the Biden administration kept many of those tariffs. Again, nobody freaked out. Nobody said anything. Nobody claimed that Biden was going to destroy the market, right? So if Trump's tariff plan or his promise or threat, depending on your perspective, so bad, why weren't they saying anything about Biden having, keeping, or adding tariffs that Trump put in his first term? Now, here's the hypocrisy from the leftist media. It's really clear here. No one criticized Biden about tariffs the way that the left has criticized Trump on tariffs. But they did either keep or add. Let's take a look.
The president directed his trade representative to increase tariffs under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 on $18 billion of imports from China. This action will protect American workers and businesses from China's unfair trade practices. As you've heard, the president often say American workers and businesses can outcompete anyone.
That's why today I'm announcing new tariffs in key sectors of the economy that are going to ensure that our workers are not held back by unfair trade practices.
So the point here is not to show if tariffs are good or bad. The point here is to show how the media drives the outrage for those who can be easily manipulated by their emotions. In this image from just a few days ago, we can see that the market dipped caused panic across the spectrum, and yet, when there was an even bigger dip during the Biden administration, no one batted an eye. That's what I want to focus in on in today's video. It's what the left does or permits and allows or stays silent about when it's their person, and the very same things that they'll attack Trump on or the right on, when the other one does it, right? That's all I'm trying to do here in this particular video, because again, we got to keep things into perspective. We understand that the left has lied multiple times. We've proven it time and time again on this channel, and they continue to lie. And I just like to continue to expose their lies. That's really the biggest thing here. Now, last week, Trump signed an executive order placing reciprocal tariffs on countries who are tariffing the heck out of us. Now, to be 100% honest, I was totally oblivious to how big the variance of these trade tariffs were, and why would anyone either agree to them or do nothing and allow them to happen, to be this lopsided. That just doesn't make sense to me. But let's just check out Trump's Day of Liberation.
All right, folks, so exactly like I said, Donald Trump takes to the podium with a giant poster, and he is sending a clear warning shot to foreign nations, listing pretty much all the tariffs that they impose on the United States and signaling to the world that America is going to hit them back with reciprocal tariffs.
China, first row, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charge anybody anything. But now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%. So we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that. But 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, very, very tough. Great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office right over there.
The White House also released the full list. Maybe I'll put it up here on screen or slowly scroll through all of it. And just visually looking at all those numbers, you can tell how imbalanced it is, right? How Donald Trump kind of has a point when he mentions the tariffs being mostly one-sided. Or maybe it's better to say lopsided. And so that right there, I think, visualizes the issue that Donald Trump is talking about.
That's just crazy to me that it's that one-sided. But anyhow, as usual, the left does their best to fearmonger, cause panic, and drive the narrative. By doing what they are doing, they're causing people to panic, which is contributing to the market dip. These people create the panic on purpose. They'll do anything to go against Trump, make Trump look bad, and champion for his failure regardless of how many Americans are impacted. Like, honestly, they don't care about us. They don't care if we lose our house. They don't care if we lose our lives. Look how many people were impacted by illegal immigration. They were killed, raped, whatever. And yet these people don't really care about them. They still champion for the open borders, right? Despite its risks, right? But let's take a listen to the amount of fear-mongering that's coming from these folks.
This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day.
It could be Obliteration Day.
Big old fat tax day.
Recession Day.
It's a day of chaos and cost increases.
Liberation from low prices, yeah.
Paul Krugman wonders, will malignant stupidity kill the world economy? Well, Krugman knows a thing or two about being malignantly stupid. He's the one who said if Trump was elected in 2016, he'd plunge the world into a recession. Instead, wages rose, unemployment hit 50-year lows, the stock market hit all-time highs, and we had zero inflation. And Trump's not worried about the world economy. He's worried about the American one. Jim Cramer's chiming in, too.
We have a market that was doing extremely well last year until the Trump administration sowed a level of uncertainty that I can't recall any time since, are you ready, ski daddy, Jimmy Carter, which is the last time people were really worried about inflation, about stagflation, okay? Back then, stagflation was real. Now, Jimmy Carter, curious benchmark, break out the cardigan sweater. I know it's a brutal comparison. You think I did it idly? I cannot think of another president in my lifetime who knocked down the stock market simply by opening his mouth.
Kramer's the guy who told you to sell Tesla 15 years ago. It's up 20,000% since then. When Trump slapped tariffs on China in his first term, the stock market tanked too. And Kramer's eyeballs popped right out of his head. But then his eyeballs always pop right back in because manufacturing came back, China negotiated a deal, and the market ripped. The people criticizing the trade war have been wrong about everything. These are the same people who triggered China's rise, the same people who pushed NAFTA, and the same people who said, let's just shut down the entire economy for 2 years and spend $1 gazillion bucks. So far, Trump's been right about China, the border, the Green New scam. There's a pretty good chance he's right about trade.
Why would you get angry at the person who is reacting to the asymmetrical tariff and not the people who inaugurated the tariff? Why is Canada mad at us when it's running a $63 billion surplus and it has tariffs on some American products at 250%? Doesn't it seem like the people who started this asymmetrical, if I could use the word trade war, should be the culpable people, not the people who are reluctantly reacting to it?
You know, the double standard is...
You know, examples like what we just saw always have me defaulting to just very common or simple TDS, right? Why do I say that? Because how many times have these experts said something that is completely false or incorrect, and they just say it just to go against Trump or defend their political aisle? Again, the most recent examples I can give you is inflation during the Biden administration. We weren't going to have inflation. Then inflation became transitory. Then you need to decrease your living standards. And finally, our inflation rate is lowest and we're better off than any other country. Okay. The other one was that there was no border crisis up until migrants started getting bused to non-border liberal sanctuary cities. Then it became a crisis. Then people were they couldn't handle it. Right? Then suddenly, now there was a migrant crisis and Harris was going to fix it, despite being part of the problem and the lie. The other one is Biden's cognitive decline. You know, it was denied. It was covered up by the leftist media. Remember, these experts said, and I quote, "This is the best I've ever seen him. He's as sharp as ever. I can't keep up with him." These experts are biased liars. And my question is, how long are people going to keep falling for this? I mean, if you get lied to once, maybe you can look the other way, forgive, but 2, 3, 4, 5 times, I mean, what's the cutoff time for these people, for someone to say, you know what, the media is lying to me, here's a lie, and I'm going to stop listening to them. I need to go where people have been proven right as opposed to people that have been proven wrong. Anyhow, moving on. I'm not a expert economist, but I do understand what a good deal is and what a bad deal is. And when you have massive differences like the one that we just saw President Trump show, well, it's pretty clear that those are pretty bad deals. Why should we have these huge percentage differences and in some case not even be allowed to trade with some of these countries while they pay very little tariffs in comparison? This is absolutely a bad deal for us. Might be a great one for them, but it's not for us. Now, I don't need to be completely heartless to say the heck with them, but perhaps trades can be a bit more equal or maybe none at all, right? In the end, Trump is trying to use the leverage he has to force and bring these people to the table in order to renegotiate. And it's already working, as many countries are promising to either decrease or remove their tariffs altogether.
Japan, who has a 50% tariff on American products, good luck finding a Chevy truck in Tokyo, called Trump today and said they're ready to strike a deal. Bessent says Japan's at the VIP table. The Prime Minister of Israel came to the White House and said he'll do everything we want.
We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly, We think it's the right thing to do, and we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs.
Across the pond, Europe says they're ready to drop every single solitary tariff.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal.
Europe was talking tough last week, and now Ursula is begging for mercy.
I think it's fair that you have tariffs on a whole number of products.
And we'd be willing to take those off tomorrow if he took all the tariffs off.
If, in fact, you're prepared to take your tariffs off, why wouldn't you have that negotiation and that conversation now before any tariffs get put in place?
We've had this conversation for over the last month. We don't want tariffs. We have another $65 billion worth of tariffs to launch today. That's the last thing we want to do, because it's just, again, it's going to hurt both countries. It's going to hurt American workers. That's the last thing I want.
Andrew meant take the other ones off, not the ones you're launching today, the ones that you already got.
You're saying you take all your tariffs off. I'm saying
we will take them all. That's right.
Reports have been coming in that over 100 countries are ready to sit and renegotiate. And in a complex world of numbers, if someone has leverage, they can negotiate better than one who doesn't, right? So countries like Mexico and Canada, etc., who rely more on us than we do on them, mathematically cannot sustain high tariffs, so they'll be forced to come to the table. I had this discussion with my father-in-law the other day, because he watches these Spanish news stations and they're all anti-Trump, and so he buys into what they're saying and all the fear-mongering. I have to remind them. I said, look, these countries cannot sustain a high tariff rate for an extended period of time. They're going to have to come to the table, and they're going to come quickly. And I told them, I said, honestly, 6 to 8 months, this entire thing will be just a memory. The only country that I think will try and outlast all the others and will be reluctant to renegotiate is China, simply because we're as reliant on them, or more so, than they are on us. They're one of the only ones, one of the few, if not the only ones, that will resist. I think everybody or just about everybody that was on that list will come to the table. Now, even though some of these, again, experts are causing panic, thankfully, there are some that are looking at things a little bit more rationally.
What gives you so much certainty that this is going to work and that this isn't going to hurt the everyday American?
The largest tariff and trade barrier country in the world is China. And they don't have inflation. So these things don't occur the way people suggest they do. This is a reordering of global trade for the benefit of America. These people have all been living in our house. They've been driving our car. They come by and visit, open our fridge, and eat our food whenever they want. They've taken advantage of us. Today was the day of the beginning of saying, I'm sorry, you can't just live for free off of us. You have to pay.
Can you defend the tariffs?
I try and focus on the signal, not the noise. Harris is not president. Trump is. And if you don't like him 12 years ago, you don't like him now, and I get it. But that's not the issue. Let's talk about the situation here. Reciprocal tariffs that have been put in place, they're basically ours for some countries. We've got 60 countries on the list. Already, you've heard from Thailand, Cambodia, the EU, and Senator Kennedy in Louisiana calling for 0 tariffs between Canada and the United States. The whole point is it's a negotiation. And if you can get to 0 tariffs, that's the best outcome. That's called free trade. That's 50% of why these tariffs are put on. So I'd argue to you, yeah, I hate volatility. I don't like it when the market corrects, but the market corrects all the time. And it generally goes down 15 to 20%. It's proven over 100 years plus. It's a great buying opportunity. And we just got the jobs numbers. The economy is just fine. Now, maybe you don't like watching sausage being made. Obviously, Trump doesn't care. He's an unusual character that way. A lot of these negotiations are done in private quarters. Trump doesn't care. You saw the first of that with Lewinsky. That's just the way he operates. So I don't care about the noise. I care about the outcome.
So Kevin Leary is on point. He mentions the volatility of the market. So he's addressing people's concerns. He's not ignoring it. including his own, right? He's also worried about it. But he also understands how the market works as well. These people understand that Trump is trying to hit the reset button in order to benefit America. And that's the key thing. Remember, he's America first. He's got to do things and put in place things that'll help benefit America. You know, he's not worried about the world, and I don't mean to make that sound cold-hearted. It's just a reality. You know, I can pray for the world, but at the end of the day, and I can, like I said, I can pray for my neighbor, but at the end of the day, I'm concerned and I'm focused on what's happening within my own household. That's what's driving, you know, my house, is what's going on within. That's what I have to be focused on. I can't worry about my neighbor, my great neighbor. You know, shout out to Diane who lives across the street from me, right? She's a great friend, and I would always be there to help if she needed it, but I can't focus on what they're doing over there. I got to focus on what I'm doing here in my own house. It's just common sense, right? Now, what I would like to point out that hasn't been said in all of this is, unlike the prior administration that lied about no inflation, no border crisis, no mental decline, is that Trump did say the markets would react and we would feel a pinch. But if we can stand strong, we'll come out on top. Just as quickly as the markets react to change, they also level off and begin to increase. Today's numbers are bouncing back in comparison to what they were just a few days ago.
Yeah, John, great to be with you. And by the way, I think I told you on your show on Friday or yesterday that, you know, we were going to see a turnaround as soon as we start to see some of these countries make the phone call to Trump and make deals with him. And Donald Trump is the great deal maker. I mean, my gosh, he wrote the book on the art of the deal. I'm smiling today because what are we up right now? 1,200 or something on the Dow. This is a good day for investors. You know, it's the old idea. You don't want to buy stocks low and sell high. And so this is good stuff.
Listen, I'm not an economic expert, and my understanding of the market is not as extensive as I would like it to be. So please take what I'm saying as just my opinion. But I'd rather trust in the guy fighting for our country than to trust the people that have repeatedly lied to us for several years, and the people that helped put us in this trade deficit. We cannot keep going the same way that we're going, expecting something to change. Something has to give. Something has to change in order for us to see that change. So I see, you know, this tariff issue as a win-win for America. Either these countries come and renegotiate and make things fair, or we focus on manufacturing and producing goods here in our own country, which will create jobs for Americans. And based on simple mathematics, this is going to work once we get over the initial hump.
And that's why I think you're seeing these flurries of calls. Now, look, the devil is in the details. We don't know exactly what's being negotiated. We don't know what they're offering. But hopefully it is that they are going to lower their tariffs on America. And, John, I've said many times on your show, I'm a free trade guy. I'm not a big fan of tariffs. But if Donald Trump can pull this off and get these countries to reduce their tariffs, it's good for everybody. The world economy will be better. And, my gosh, if this keeps up, as I said in the Wall Street Journal today, he might win a Nobel Peace Prize if he's able to pull this off.
Is there a Nobel Prize in trade? I don't know, but maybe he might be up for that one. You and Art Laffer proposed something in the Wall Street Journal that you thought might work, and this may be the direction that the president is heading in, and that is you wrote a win-win exit strategy for Trump on tariffs. Offer nations truly reciprocal free trade, zero barriers, zero subsidies. Those appear to be the offers on the table from several countries, including Vietnam, Israel. We had Benjamin Netanyahu talking about leveling the playing field. Japan, Korea might be in the same boat.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not out of context with what Donald Trump has said in the past. In a famous meeting in 2018 in Ottawa, the G7 meeting of the major leaders of major countries in the world, Trump, they were kind of bitching at Trump for talking about terrorists. And he said, look, if you guys will go to zero, we'll go to zero. And all of a sudden they ran for the exits because there's a lot of hypocrisy going on among these other European countries who say, how dare you pick a fight on trade when they have much higher tariffs than we do. I think it would be a great solution for Trump, and I think he would take it. Any country that wants to go to zero, we go to zero. That's the ultimate in free and fair trade, and I think Trump may just be able to pull that off.
So guys, in the end, I don't think this tariff situation is going to be prolonged. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. Why? Because the numbers aren't there and Trump has all the leverage. And based on that simplicity, these people will come to the table, they will renegotiate, and we'll be better off in the long run. What we've got to make sure is that we don't allow the corrupt to get back into a position where they can change whatever Trump or undo whatever Trump's doing. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you as always. God bless you guys. God bless America, and God bless Trump. MAGA baby. Bye-bye.